You are to safeguard and protect the territorial integrity of the nation and its citizens, and not use your position to antagonize the very citizens whose sacrifices have made your training possible.
34.
Also ahead this evening, 39 first-year students of the University of Professional Studies dismissed and handed over to the police for applying with forged certificates.
On the international front this evening, a suicide bomb inside a Shia mosque in the Afghan capital, Kabul, kills at least 30 people.
We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, including the latest from the world of entertainment and sport. Remember, we're streaming live all across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. In our very first story this evening, the Supreme Court has dismissed an application by businessman Alfred Agbesi Woyome to stop the valuation of his property as part of efforts to retrieve the 47.2 million cedis he owes the state. Presiding Judge, Justice Alfred Benin, described the application as one without merit.
Businessman Alfred Agbesi Woyome's application followed state officials storming one of his residences at Trasauco to value the property. Alfred Woyome on Monday challenged the legality of the valuation of some of his property, saying the action is not backed by law. The ruling by the court has paved the way for the state to continue with the valuation of his property in a quest to retrieve monies he owed the state from a judgment debt wrongfully paid him. Meanwhile, government has indicated that it will begin another round of valuation and seizure of other property in a bid to get the rest of the 47.2 million left to be paid by him. Deputy Attorney General Godfred Dami said the state is determined to recover all the money from Woyome.
We're not leaving this stone unturned at recovering or identifying all the assets owned by him. And we still continue with those efforts. We're still making necessary inquiries and searches, and I believe that when we come to the relevant discoveries, the public will hear about it.
Alfred Woyome was paid 51.2 million cedis after claiming he helped Ghana raise funds to construct stadia for the hosting of the 2008 African Cup of Nations, but a 2010 Auditor General's report held that the amount was wrongfully paid to him. Subsequently, the Supreme Court in 2014 ordered the businessman to pay back the money.
You are to safeguard and protect the territorial integrity of the nation and its citizens, and not to use your position to antagonize the very citizens whose sacrifices have made your training possible. These were the words of the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when he commissioned 106 cadet officers into the Ghana Armed Forces at the Military Academy at Teshie here in Accra.
"106 cadet officers from the Regular Career Corps 57 and Short Service Commission and Special Duties Corps 55 were commissioned as officers of the Ghana Armed Forces. President Akufo-Addo asked them to respect the citizenry and go about their duties professionally.
You're expected to exhibit exemplary conduct. You must at all times discharge your duties professionally and diligently. Remember, you are to safeguard and protect the territorial integrity of the nation and its citizens, and not use your position to antagonize the very citizens whose sacrifices have made your training possible.
34 cadet officers were presented with various awards, with Senior Under Officer Arthur Barnes Kwesi receiving the highest award, the Sword of Honor.
The National Fire Service is to introduce a new regulation for fire personnel to present to supervise offloading liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) at various dispensing points. The move is part of the service's efforts to prevent further gas explosions. The National Fire Service says it has observed that most gas explosions occur when product is being offloaded. This, the service has blamed on the low level of safety adherence at some gas stations. At its 11th annual fire service, directors and regional officers conference in Accra, issues including capacity building, the safety of firefighters during emergency response, and improving fire safety standard in the country were discussed.
We are talking about precaution, we are talking about safety, and whatever we need to do to ensure that the country is safe, our men and women are safe, is what we need to embark upon. There can be no other skilled professional to be at such a delivery point better than a trained National Fire Service personnel.
Head of Public Relations, Prince Billy Anaglate, said the service will ensure strict adherence to all regulations concerning the offloading of LPG gas.
All these gas filling stations will not be discharging at the same time. The policy says that the fire service should be informed a day before the discharge so that we can put in our strategy to ensure that at least not less than 2 fire personnel will be on the ground to monitor and to ensure that all these safety measures are strictly adhered to.
And our 39 first-year students of the University of Professional Studies here in Accra have been dismissed and handed over to the police for applying with forged certificates. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Abednego Fairhill Amate, made this known at this year's matriculation of fresh students.
6,015 out of 7,086 applicants gained admission for the 2017-2018 academic year, the highest since the university started running degree programs. A preliminary verification of entry requirements of fresh students revealed 39 of them had their WAEC results either falsified or deliberately entered false grades.
On the university online admission system, the admission of such students have since been revoked, and the matter has accordingly been reported to the police for further investigations. I wish to admonish all of you, our fresh students, that the university frowns upon such dishonest conduct, which has a tendency to destroy not only your future, but also undermine the credibility of the university.
Vice-Chancellor Professor Abednego Amate also cautioned the students to be of good behavior.
I urge you to work at becoming totally transformed individuals. You can become that transformed person when you look for a fine balance between studies and extracurricular activities.
Chairman of the University Council, Dr. Kofi Ohene Konedu, admonished the students to spend more time on their books. In other news, the Ghana AIDS Commission is pushing for the speedy passage of a legislative instrument to establish a national AIDS fund. The fund, when made fully operational, would assist the Commission in the fight against HIV/AIDS.
The Volta, Eastern, Bono Ahafo, Western, Upper East and West regions recorded high prevalence in 2016. The Volta and Bono Ahafo regions recorded 2.7% prevalence, with the aged bracket between 15 and 49 contributing to 1.1%. The figures further indicated that HIV/AIDS was more prevalent in the urban areas than rural areas. The Ghana AIDS Commission has therefore set up a national AIDS fund to fight the spread. But the Commission is awaiting a legislative instrument to make it operational.
Without provision of high-impact HIV prevention services to key populations in the country. Therefore, we'll continue to scale up targeted HIV prevention services to these populations.
The Commission at the launch of 2018 National HIV/AIDS Conference, NACON 2018, suggested regular HIV tests.
We must think innovative ways of generating and mobilizing adequate resources to fill the financial gaps so required while addressing stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV/AIDS.
The 2018 NACON conference is on the theme, Ending AIDS, Rethinking Practices for Maximum Impact.
So much.
All right.
Welcome back to News 360. One of our top stories this evening, former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor has admitted he did not do a background check on Ameri Energy before the power deal was signed in 2015. He told Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee Friday an international lending institution that issued the letter of credit for the project conducted the check. Dr. Donkor was responding to questions before the committee over the $510 emergency power deal signed to shore up the country's energy supply. The majority in Parliament has signalled the move to have to deal with the rescinded over possible fraud. Adansia Sokwa MP Katie Hammond, who filed the urgent motion to have the deal terminated, said he has documents pointing to breaches of the agreement.
And I wish this had been done earlier, rather than the mudslinging and calling names. I believe we should be talking to each other. It's very easy after the emergency. You were all here in 2015. After the emergency is over, we are on safe ground to look back and say, oh, you should have done this, you should have done this, when you are standing from a position of safety in the midst of the emergency. What we needed was power at all costs. The country was undergoing tremendous psychological hiccup. Factories were not having enough power to keep their factories running. Ghanaians businesses were shutting down for lack of power. And I believe we took the right decision at the right time. Will we do that today? Definitely not once we are out of emergency. In normal times, the processes and procedures used are different. In emergency, the most important is the outcome and not necessarily the process.
So do you agree that the contract can be reviewed?
There's always provision in a contract for parties to talk to each other. But you don't criminalize, you don't debase the other party, call them fraudulent before you sit down to talk. I think it was wrong. And yes, you heard me. And also, I also strongly believe Parliament has no authority to rescind the decision.
Still on this, the Ameri Energy has said it gave Ghana value for money in the $150 million power plant it supplied the country during the acute power crisis under the former President John Mahama administration. Ameri, in a statement ahead of that meeting with the Energy Committee of Parliament, said even though they are confident of the integrity of the arrangement with Ghana, they admit the government has the right to reassess the deal. Portions of the statement is quoted as saying that Ameri acknowledges that the government of Ghana has every right to assess all public contracts for value of money or quality of delivery. The company strongly believes that the project delivered on both was for that purpose. An independent report by renowned auditors PricewaterhouseCoopers found that out of 7 similar projects, the Ameri plant at Takoradi offered the best value for money, the statement said. The statement added, when we entered Ghana, the country was going through its worst energy crisis. The only option on the table for the government was a rental deal which offered no value for money to the country. Ameri says they are proud to say they are the only company working in the region which offered and delivered a short-term 5-year build, own, operate and transfer solution installed in record time. The power plant features brand new state-of-the-art GE turbines. So we're going to stay with this just a bit further, and I'm going to go on to Skype now, and I'm joined by Richmond Roxon, who is the principal researcher at the Institute of Energy Security, and hopefully Kojo Poku, who is also an energy expert, will join us as we go on. Richmond, good evening to you. It's good to have you. Now, one of the positions taken by some who criticize this deal is that not much due diligence was done. Kwabena Donkor disagrees because he believes that the lending organization did its own due diligence before going ahead with even giving the letters of credit for this particular deal. Is it what you also see through with this deal?
Good evening to you and good evening to your cherished viewers. I think that it's important that in every deal that the government of Ghana enters to, due diligence is done critically by the government itself, and not to rely on third parties. At the end of the day, even when the third parties have done their own due diligence, it's for government to make its own checks, to make sure that we are entering into a contract with a credible company and a viable company. These are some of the effects of sole source, and then we know how the Ameri deal came into force. We know that at the time we were challenged, we needed power at the time. The former president traveled outside, had an engagement with the officials in Saudi Arabia, and eventually Ameri came on stream. So it's important that we some of these.
I see. Okay, now I'll play with you, Mr. Roxon, if you could move away a bit from the noise because we're having some feedback here. But would you agree with the position also that the VRA's option or recommendation of we going for the boot, that the boot option was good at the time we were going into this particular deal? Hello, Mr. Roxon.
Our engagement with it. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Yes, like I mentioned, it's interesting how the VRA's position has changed, because when we had our engagement with the VRA senior staff, they were the same staff that complained bitterly about the effects Ameri is having in the energy sector and how the Ameri deal is affecting the books of VRA. At the end of the day, if we had the money, it would have been easier for government to enter into an agreement where governments would ordinarily purchase these plants, the GE plants, directly from General Electric. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have the funds, and the government decided to enter into these arrangements with Ameri. At the end of the day, everything has been financed by Ameri. What the allegations have been over the period is that Ameri entered into these agreements with the government of Ghana, going to third party, that's PPR, to supply these plants at the cost of $350 million, which the opposition have consistently said that, in their opinion, they thought that was unreasonable to make $150 million just by entering into an agreement where you practically did nothing into. We've mentioned over and over again that we think that there should be a committee to look into it. We don't think that the best option is to have a parliamentary select committee look into it, because we know the positions of both parties already, whether the NPP or the NDC. And we know that nothing different will happen. They will all be whipped in line. And at the end of the day, what they're expecting the parties to stand for is what they will both stand for. I think that we should have an independent committee look into this Ameri probe, because we've had the back and forth over and over again, and the issue seems to be coming back anytime Ameri comes up. So we should have a committee of inquiry look into it, independent experts, where we'll have everybody who had anything to do with the deal come before the committee, probe into it. At the end of the day, the report issued. Otherwise, if we are going according to the select committee, we don't expect anything different to happen.
Okay, let me go on to Kojo Poku now. Kojo, if you can hear me, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us right now on Skype. Now, the position by Richmond Roxon is that we should go for an independent inquiry looking into this particular deal, because rescinding the deal is going to lead to we having to incur some judgment debts as a country. And so reviewing the deal would be the best option to go. I'll find out your thoughts on this.
Well,
I can hear you.
Right, but there seems to be...
Hello, Kojo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. But the simple side.
Okay.
I'm not too sure if you can.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's much better.
Okay. I was asking you about the best way forward in dealing with this particular deal which the Energy Committee in Parliament is looking at.
Well, I would really advise the Parliament not to try and rescind this transaction. Some of us want transaction which is going. Ghana one of the few that can have a parliamentary approval.
Okay, so because of the issues in there, we're going to go back to them and get some more details because of the lack of clarity in the sounds. We'll be back shortly with some more stories on this Tuesday. All right, welcome back to News 360. Let's go back to Skype while Kojo Poku is an energy expert. He joins me again on Skype. Kojo, it's good to have you once again. Now, Kwabena makes the point that they took the right decision at the right time, contrary to the positions of persons who criticize this particular deal.
Well, you know what? The Ameri deal, some of us supported the Ameri deal. At the point in time, it was the best much ado about nothing. You didn't have money at that time. You're going into the market to look for plants which will come in as an emergency plant. Now, let's all remember that by the time that anybody in Ghana started making noise about the Ameri deal, the Ameri company had already delivered the plants to Ghana. So I supported the deal because if you go into the market, you do not have money. You want somebody to give you a plant that you will use over a period and pay it over 5 years. It was the best deal you could get at that time. For business, it made sense because you didn't have money. Somebody will give you their plant to generate, and 5 years you pay him back whilst you use the plant. So when you want to talk about a decision that was made, I supported that decision. The only problem that we have with Ameri is the fact that there are inconsistency with the way the deal was done, whereby a middleman now made so much money, which otherwise shouldn't have been the case. Now, the way Parliament is going about this thing by trying to have a session by calling Honorable Donko, everybody who was part of this deal would defend it. What some of us know is that there were some sort of colluding and some criminality. That is what the government should find out and find a way to now come to the realization how the Ameri people, not Mecca, signed the agreement and made all that money. The way the Parliament is, what I was saying earlier was that Parliament should not really go on that path of trying to abrogate deals that have been done in the past. If they do that, it's a very slippery slope because every government that comes to power will now undo everything that has been done. So the decision, yes, some of us supported the decision because it was the best deal at that time.
Okay, so business-wise, it was the wise decision, but cost-wise, that's where you raise questions, right?
Well, cost-wise, as in due diligence, you see, there are two companies involved in this transaction. There is Mecca and there is Ameri. Mecca are the guys who, if you go to Takoradi now, they are the ones doing the work now. Mecca came to Ghana first before Ameri. Why is it that Mecca, who are the guys now at Takoradi doing the work, came to Ghana first to meet VRA? They did not sign the agreement with Ghana government. It was Ameri who now came in later and signed the agreement with Ghana government. Those are the questions that I have always said, that the only way you can get to the bottom of this thing is to have a commission of inquiry, have a high court judge sit, subpoena the individuals that were involved in this transaction, let them now testify under oath. Then you get some of the truth under this thing. The way the government is going about it is like, look, nobody seems to care. I have been saying this thing from day one. The only way you're going to get the truth on the Ameri deal have a commission of inquiry with the High Court judge and subpoena people.
If you have identified elements of fraud, would a renegotiation of this deal with that element of fraud or an abrogation of it?
If you establish colluding on the principal officers who were part of the transaction, you can abrogate the transaction because there is fraud. If you can establish that, and you can only, you see, look, there are about 15 people that were involved in that transaction from all sorts of departments. Justice, the Attorney General Department, VRA, ECG, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance. If you subpoena and swear them under oath, and you ask them certain questions, you realize that some people's answers does not tally with the other people's answers. That is where you now start to make your notes. But the way they are going about it, especially when the committee of inquiry that was set up by the minister and it was headed by Vicky Bright and the lawyer, everybody who was part of that transaction was on that committee. What truth do you want to come out? If you call Honorable Kwabena Donkor, he will tell you and justify his decision, rightfully so. I defended that deal that Honorable Kwabena Donkor did because we were in darkness, we needed emergency plan, and that plan was delivered.
Okay.
That's not the point. The point is there is a level of colluding and criminality. If the government wants to find that, the Commission of Inquiry.
I'm grateful for your time this evening. Thank you, as always. Kojo Poku is an energy expert joining us via Skype on this.
Alright, so you're still watching News 360. Time for business now. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Some women leaders are advocating rebranding strategies to promote business and investment for the country. The 2016 Africa Attractiveness Report revealed a 12.3% decline in foreign direct investment across the continent.
According to branding experts, Ghana must be repositioned to enable it to become a preferred hub for business investment in order to become a strong middle economy. At the Maiden Executive Women Network Conference, a non-for-profit organization of women in senior management and executive positions, the First Lady Rebecca Ekufuado noted that women leaders have a critical role to play in rebranding the country to drive business growth and investment.
We leave the work of branding solely in the hands of the government parastatals. Imagine for a moment if we apply the same rigor, commitment, and expertise we all possess into branding our dear country. This conference is not solely about what government can do, but what we, collectively, as women leaders, can do to rebrand Ghana to drive business growth.
She again called for a greater inclusion of women in all sectors of the economy to drive socio-economic development.
Excluding women, who make up more than 50% of our population, is not the way to go. If we want to develop Ghana, we need more female voices engaged in our national discourse and engage them actively in our national development.
The chairperson of the Executive Women's Network, Frida Duplan, said Ghana must be repositioned to attract investment.
As business grows, our economy will grow, our people will prosper, and we will create that future that we want and have always wished for.
Other speakers at the forum agreed strengthening of local indigenous businesses, rebranding of major cities, administrative proficiency, and adequate resourcing of the National Commission for Civic Education are crucial to transform the economy.
Right, so the Ghana cedi against all major trading currencies has remained quite steady across board. Looking at the terrain from the beginning of the week to the end of the week today, we have seen the Ghana cedi remain steady for some past months now, and reasons being that, well, we're not doing too much activity, even though there are more imports coming in from the ports. But from the analyst perspective, the cedi is against the US dollar, and it's being bought at 4 Ghana cedis, 37 pesos, and same when it's being sold to you on the interbank markets there. And for the cedi to that of the Great British Pound, you'll get it at 5 Ghana cedis 77 pesos, and it will also be sold to you at the same rates. But remember, banks would close early tomorrow, so if you have anything to change, the figures might be different when you visit the forex market. And for the cedi to that of the euro is also still unchanged, remaining at 5 Ghana cedis 16 pesos when you are buying it and when it's being sold to you. Well, would it continue remaining steady, or it would appreciate against other major trading currencies? Let's see how the weekend goes, and the week begins Monday. But that'll do for business news tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa. Lovely weekend. Good evening.
The Musicians Union of Ghana, Musiga, will stage a tribute concert in his memory on October 27.
Our job right now is to focus on reliving the legend's music, support us in giving one of the icons in our creative industry what he deserves, a deserving parting.
The High Life legend, who is to be honored with a state burial, will be laid in state at the forecourt of the State House for friends and industry players to file past and bid him a final farewell. His body will later be interred at his hometown, Apam, in the Central Region. The Jealousy Mama composer's burial will be followed by the final funeral rites in Accra. Meanwhile, Musiga will hold a tribute concert on October 27 at the National Theatre in memory of the legendary singer. Musiga has already extended invitations to some hit makers and is expecting massive participation by the music fraternity as a sign of respect to the iconic musician.
Papa Jansen's passing has brought us together to do things for the future. Come and support this funeral because it's a very special one that is bringing all of us together and paving the way for future happenings. So that if anything should happen to any musician, all of us can come together and show Ghanaians what we have, the love we have for each other.
Benjamin Akuno Kofi Jansen will be remembered for songs like Tnamenchen, done with Paulino Dro, Okuku Seku, Show Your Love, Bibio Dowo, and Jealousy.
Certainly classic songs there. Great to know there will be a tribute concert held in his honor. Well, still in entertainment, activities on the streets of Nima came to a halt as award-winning dancehall star Shatta Wale stormed the neighborhood on Thursday to celebrate his 33rd birthday with fans. The hitmaker had fun with a huge crowd, which included market women, the elderly, children, and generally die-hard fans. The fans used the occasion to celebrate and take photographs with their icon. The gesture was to appreciate the fans for their unflinching support throughout his underground days. The low-tempo hitmaker turned 33 on October 17. They're really connecting with him as he presses his head against the
absolutely. He's one of the few people who would get a direct birthday wish from the president. Yeah. I mean, what do you expect?
True.
Yeah, but we want to say thank you for staying with us for the past 60 minutes here on News 360. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're grateful. My name is Alfred Okamsi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. And remember, news at 10 later this evening will simulcast on our sister station, 3FM 92.7. Next is Tashan. Have a wonderful weekend.